Okay, good evening, everybody. I know this seems like we're in a courtroom, and I apologize for the setup, but nonetheless, I thought this was the most effective way for you to view the entirety of the panel. Thank you so much for coming on a Monday evening to talk about Las Lomas and what we can cover in an hour. I do want to remind everyone here tonight, this is being recorded, so we will post this up on the website for those that couldn't make it. And then, as always, I will continue to work with the community if we need to do this again. And if we need to get together again and discuss some things again, we can do that throughout the course of the year. In just a moment, I'm going to allow for introductions of everyone who came out tonight to answer your questions. But first and foremost, I want to introduce myself. I am Sarah Harris. I am the principal here at Las Lomas. And it is my pleasure to hold this panel and try to be as transparent as I can with my community. If you know anything about me, I went to Las Lomas. Las Lomas is my school. Las Lomas is something that I have a lot of passion in, but I'm also humbled at the fact that a good school runs with everyone. And I am not an independent contractor. I have amazing people around me, but I need to include parents, and I need to include community members in the capacity that I can. So I really appreciate you coming out tonight and supporting Las Lomas and working to better Las Lomas and all the great things going on here. So thank you so much. I'm going to start the introductions at the far end of the table here and just kind of let everyone introduce themselves and their position here on campus. Hello?
Oh, good, these are on. We are so excited to have Sarah with us. My name is Kathy Mooney. I'm the school nurse here. I've been here going on 14 years. I'm also a teacher. I've been a teacher for 10, and I teach science.
Good evening. My name is Jamie Rich. I'm here with Mothers Against Drunk Driving, MAD. I've been working with Las Lomas. This is my second year. Last year I was wearing a different hat, but more to come on that.
Hi, I'm Amelia Whalen. I'm the wellness coordinator here at Las Lomas High School. I oversee the operations of our mental health center here on campus.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jasmine Hernandez, and I am one of the associate principals.
Good evening. My name is Emily Woodall, and I'm the newest associate principal here.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Renee McFadder Harris. I am the Director of Student Support, Equity, and Inclusion at the district office.
Hi, and I'm David Grinzotto. I'm one of the associate principals.
And then finally, I have to recognize them because we do not survive every day without them. I have also asked our two campus supervisors here on campus to join us. So we have Jarrell Trias and Ricardo Gonzalez here as well. They are two in a family of 1,600. We'll get into that in a little bit, but they work so hard for our students between the cafeteria and running around campus all day that I brought them here to say thank you, near and dear to me, and the work they do every day for Las Lomas. So thank you again for coming. Okay, so as you might have noticed on the website or the communication I sent out in Night's News, I did allow for parents to ask some questions. And I thought because we only had an hour tonight, we can go through some of these. And then you might have noticed there's two microphones down here on the floor. I do want to hear from parents. I don't want us to just talk at you. So what I would love to do is I'll kind of broach the question that was brought to me, and myself and my team will talk about what we have been doing here at school. I will take a pause, and then if someone else has any sort of questions in between, I would love for you to get up if you're comfortable doing so and ask the panel the question. I just ask for the sake of the recording and clarity that we just go one at a time so the recording can pick it up and we can hear you and we can pay you due respect when you're asking your question, okay? So I did receive a couple questions from the community, not surprising, about bathrooms and drug use and vaping in bathrooms. One of the things that oftentimes I try to stay away from, but I just can't, is I am not a political principal. I guess that's one thing to my fault, but again, if you can't be open and honest with those parents that are sending children to their school, when can you be? There have been a lot of vaping incidents in bathrooms. There have been a lot. I consider one overdose a lot. We have had two. And again, I'm being transparent with this group. This is going on our website. The first overdose occurrence we had was with a 9th grader. And this particular student overdosed on methadone, which was taken in between 5th and 6th period. The second overdose we have had was regarding edible gummies. And instead of just ingesting one, which is pretty typical, the student ingested 3. These students are fine, they are recovering. I've been working actively with the parents, but I wanted to tell this forum in the utmost respectful way that I can that this is very concerning to me. I will say, talking to other administrators around the area, that this is everywhere. And by no means am I making excuses, but this panel in front of you has been out in classrooms more than I've ever seen, out in bathrooms more than I've ever seen every day. It's gotten to a point where I'm specifically putting it on their calendars, like please go out and be present, please go in the bathrooms. You may be familiar with Las Lomas, you may be familiar with the prior administration. This is a new administration. We do things differently. We're communicative, we're present. I have expectations for teachers during passing periods, during brunch, during lunch, to get outside. Go in the rally court, pop your head in a bathroom. I have some teachers here tonight, 6, that we pay to be noon supervisors, morning supervisors, just to be available to support kids. In addition, in our wellness center, and I might pass this over to Amelia, we also offer brief intervention sessions for students who are struggling with addiction because it's real and it's scary and those kids need those supports. So Amelia, you want to speak a little to that?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So we provide what's called the Brief Intervention Program through our Wellness Center. It is an evidence-based model, which is used to work with youth in a time-limited capacity to help them address issues that may involve substance use or even abuse issues. It's a harm reduction approach where we really look at keeping kids safe, helping them develop coping mechanisms, and creating a supportive environment around them. By mid-October, all members of our wellness team will be trained in brief intervention, so our capacity to provide that service will be even greater than it is now, which is something we've been providing to students this week.
Thank you. In addition, you know, when we talk to students, one thing that we're being really conscientious of every time we talk to a student or search a student, legally we are obligated to call parents. So you will always be in the know. You will always be told this is why we searched that student, this is what we found on that student. Let's partner together to try to help your student. Unless it is overtly heinous, which is very rare with the students at Las Lomas, we want to work with them. Like they are kids. And I will say from everything we've experienced, especially with the population of our bathroom usage, there's a lot of layers behind why these students are doing what they're doing. And oftentimes what we've been hearing, and Amelia has been experiencing firsthand, depression, anxiety, trying to get back into the mode of school. So this is where we're doing professional development with our teachers. We have a teacher who's trained in nonviolent communication with students. This is teaching teachers how do we communicate with kids who have been in distance learning for over a year. How do we communicate with our 9th graders that haven't set foot in a classroom really since 7th grade? How do we make them feel comfortable and safe on campus? And I'm not saying I'm gonna snap my fingers and fix it, but we're working towards this effort, like how can we support them? Instead of just turning to, you're the problem. Why are you vaping? And then just jumping to the punishment. Now, of course, this is a public institution, so there is discipline enacted when needed, but I want you to know that we're being conscientious, we're being diligent, we're being very, like, on a case-by-case basis. And these 3 in particular around me, they're in the bathrooms all day, every day. And I refuse, unlike some other schools in this district, I refuse to break ed code and open the doors in the bathrooms. I'm not gonna do that. We tried the smoke alarms. They're sporadic. I mean, there were sometimes a kid would flush a toilet and the alarm would go off. And then 3 administrators would go running to a bathroom, and then you want to talk about discomfort for a student just trying to use the bathroom? It was extremely uncomfortable for that student. So again, we want to partner with you, we want to work with you, we want to talk to you about how like addiction is real. We have some resources. Jamie will obviously talk about some more resources at the end of this evening. But this is important to us and something that we're really shifting our focus to be present for these kids and combat this addiction as much as we can.
The other thing that we're grappling with this year is, as Sarah said, coming off of a COVID year. This regulation of our students as well as adults has been really real. Everything is moving faster than people are ready. Students are feeling anxious from being with their peers, even as much as they want to be there, which results in going to the wellness center, spending extra time in the bathroom, taking space from just being around people. So that's compounding a lot of what's happening right now. We're in the process of finding more clinicians to work with our students at all the schools because there's an influx of need. And there's less access in the community for a lot of things because of the wait list, and this is happening around the whole county. It's not a nuance for us, and it's something that we're taking seriously and want to get ahead of it before we get to when it's midterms and everything else that causes extra stress. I don't know if you have noticed any new behaviors in your kids or any new mood swings in your kids or even yourself. I know when I came back to work in person, I was exhausted by 2 o'clock. Just from being around people. And so all of this is real. Trauma is real. This is a new trauma. This isn't the trauma that we learn in textbooks. This is an experience that we've all gone through for the very first time ever. So we're all trying to navigate it, which is amazing that Sarah pulled this together because we do need to do it together as a community and the school.
Any questions? Great, you just come up to the microphone if you're comfortable. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Debbie Nix, and I'm just wondering, because we get these little emails every so often about, you know, we've had a few members on campus got COVID, blah, 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 and we don't know if your child was actually exposed to them. We would be giving you another email stating you need to quarantine or whatever. So what is the protocol if someone gets COVID in my son's class? Do you want to take it? Yes, please.
Yeah, Debbie, I understand your concern. So we have it pretty much down to a pretty quick system, way faster than the county's doing it. In fact, we got a phone call for a case that we had over 2 weeks ago from the county. They were just starting contact tracing. So first and foremost, I wanted to let you know that we are on top of things here. And as soon as we hear, we drop everything, we do the contact tracing so fast that before school's over, we're trying to get the emails out before school's over, but for some reason, when we find out about a case, it doesn't happen until after lunch for some reason. So far, so good. We've been a couple of weeks with absolutely no positive cases on campus that we know of. We monitor the sick kids really closely. We take their temperatures if they come in and they don't feel well. I take a really strong medical history first because I don't want to send every kid home if they have a history of migraine, headache, that's one symptom, a sore throat, drippy nose, allergies. So a lot of things point to COVID that really aren't. So Debbie, you asked about what is our protocol. So last year, when we were on hybrid, the first thing that we did was contact the whole school to say that we had one case. We're not going to do that anymore. That just creates a lot of fear on top of the already fearful environment. So we won't do that anymore. What we do first is, once a report comes in that a student has tested positive, we make sure that student is off campus. And that student usually is, because they're not feeling too well, or if they do test positive in my office, we get them out quickly, okay? So we try not to keep them in the health office very long. There's little chairs that they sit in outside. As soon as we can get a hold of a parent, they'll sit outside with their mask on, or at a meeting place where they'll go with their parent. That's the first thing we do. The second thing we do is we contact all the teachers of where that student was for 48 hours before they were tested positive. We get the seating charts, we talk to the teachers, and we find out where that student was sitting, if it was in a 6-foot radius for longer than 15 minutes. We get a list of those kids. We have a person named Nick Carpenter up at the district level who is there the minute you snap your fingers. As soon as I dial his number, he goes, "What you got?" And I go, "This person." He sends me all of the people that were in the classrooms for 48 hours with that one student, if the student had been on campus. We painstakingly go through each of the lists, we look at the seating charts after we talk to the teachers, we single out two lists. We make one list of students who were vaccinated and another list of students who are not vaccinated. As you may well know, there are many more vaccinated students here. In fact, I can't give you a number, but I would say it's probably higher than those of the rest of the county. I would say it's way over 80%. And I'm being generous with that, meaning that the number's probably higher. So that's less to be fearful about. So we will send, as soon as a teacher gets an email, we need your seating chart, that's basically saying you have a student that was positive in your classroom. Nobody gets emotional, everyone immediately does what they need to do. Our wonderful APs will go to the classrooms and pick up the seating chart from the teachers so that we can start the process. An email goes out to the teacher in the classroom. Two separate emails go out. One goes to the parents of the students who were vaccinated, that was exposed. Exposure equals closer than a 6-foot radius for longer than 15 minutes. The second letter is a different letter that goes out to the parents of the students who are unvaccinated, because they have different, we treat them a little bit differently. We try to protect them more. Do you want me to go into more detail about what these letters say?
No, just, I think more what I was looking for. What I was looking for was just mainly, how we're notified and how quickly we're notified, and then how long do we stay home if we're vaccinated, how long do we stay home if we're not vaccinated, and when do we come back, and what do we have to do to come back?
So, just out of curiosity, have you received an email, Debbie, where you weren't sure? Actually, don't answer that. I put you on the spot. I really go by the HIPAA regulations.
It's okay.
So, if we know that your student was exposed, also you need to know, I sent a survey to the student who goes out, who goes home, having been positive, and I said, please let me know any student you've been here on campus within 6 weeks with your mask or without your mask for longer than 15 minutes. And then we get the names of those students too. So after Sarah sends out those 2 emails, I follow up with an email telling them exactly what to do, okay? So the vaccinated kids basically can come to school as long as they're masks. If they have symptoms, watch up to 14 days. If no symptoms, just keep coming. The unvaccinated have to come into my office and test with me 4 times in 2 weeks. If they have any symptoms, they have to go straight home. That's basically what they get.
I will say that Kathy and the nurses have been amazing, because the letters that were put together were put out by the district office, and sometimes they can be a little wordy, a little confusing. So Kathy started to initiate those follow-up emails, and she has been wonderful. So if you come across that situation, hopefully not, please email Kathy. She'll be happy to help you and guide you through that.
Hi, Tara Figment. Thank you for addressing the issue with the bathrooms, I also wanted to talk about another issue with the bathrooms, which I'm sure you're probably going to talk about, the vandalism. But in addition to that, above and beyond that, my son tells me he had to go to 3 different bathrooms to find a place to wash his hands. So in addition to addressing the vandalism aspect, would you consider establishing the portable wash stations in the hallways?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, the vandalism, I'm not sure if you are aware of that. It like sparked all of a sudden, one day we got hit, 3 or 4 bathrooms are just destroyed. And then come to find out there is a TikTok challenge that encourages kids to vandalize bathrooms. The students that we have brought into the office, oh, I saw it on TikTok. It is a TikTok challenge. I have to say I experienced it firsthand at our Friday football game where a young man just decided, I'm just gonna rip the sink off the wall. Social media is problematic for a variety of reasons, but this is probably one of the hardest discussions we're having to have with kids because they can't disconnect the challenge that they see on social media and like the reality of what they're doing. Unfortunately, when we're given these particular circumstances, these are much more strict disciplinary actions. I mean, this is vandalism. There was also a TikTok challenge where you should steal something from a classroom. So we had a student steal a model engine out of auto shop. That is theft. So the vandalism is real. We are handling those. If it gets to the extent where, like for instance, on Friday, we notified Walnut Creek Police Department, we do in fact do that. I have no control over TikTok. I was definitely working with my team members up here, like how we can really start communicating this out to kids. I will say the hardest part of me tapping kids, besides us being present face to face, is COVID. Like I wish I could get them in a gym and have a conversation with them, I really do, but I'm working on that in stride. But where we're really trying to put into place some means and methods of some good common sense and good thinking is within the classrooms. One thing I've been really proactive is in communicating with my teachers. Like, here's what happened. Here's when it happened. Here's what happened. Of course, not divulging a student's name, but they're very well aware. And what I found is that's really motivated my teachers to get out of the room. Go see some of these bathrooms. I mean, just today, poor Ricardo heard banging and shaking in a restroom and walked in and found these young men destroying paper towel dispenser and soap dispenser. So that is a problem, and that has resulted in oftentimes my one-day custodian, yes, one-day custodian, running around filling paper towel dispensers, filling soap dispensers as quick as he can, because they're being destroyed by the hour on the hour. I have reached out to a lot of principals around the area, not just in the district. It's happening everywhere. College Park had 4 bathrooms destroyed in one day. So that is really just kind of this scary reality. But I think us being there and showing a face, and you know, as creepy as kids may think it is, like we're not standing inside, but we're right outside those bathrooms. Making sure that we're present, making sure that we're there. And the staff here has done an amazing job, just kind of like, you know what? I'm just gonna stand outside a few minutes after the bell has rung until we get over this trend, because we all know once this TikTok trend is over, there's gonna be another one. And really just doing our best to get in front of it and stay present and make sure we're really kind of talking to these kids through it, like the severity of what they've done in those bathrooms. I would also like to address just one more thing before I'll open it up again to questions. I did send out a letter to the entire community that we had a student hit by a car outside of Whole Foods. It is very dangerous from students walking from Broadway Plaza to campus, walking from Whole Foods to campus, walking from Kaiser to campus. I will just let you know, although I don't have the bandwidth, Walnut Creek Police Department does. And I've reached out and have created a really nice partnership, all of us APs, with Officer Blatz. And he's like, hey, I have these reserves. I have these reserves in the morning, and I have the reserves at night. I will say, in terms of our reserves at night, they have been awesome at our night events. They have been at almost every night event on this campus, present, non-intimidating to kids, just there to be like, I'm here if you need me. But I told them that it's becoming increasingly more important when kids are coming on to school and leaving school. And I heard that loud and clear from the community, and watching that student get into that stretcher, I don't know how real that can be. A lot of community members have been asking me for an update. I don't have an update. The mom just kind of wants to take her time on updating me. But the last I heard, he is recovering, which is great to hear. But that is the scary reality. That is a very scary reality. The one thing, when that instance did occur, we have a lot of doctors around. And doctors pulled over and helped the student. But we are still working, and I'm also working with the city of Walnut Creek. Like, hey, good old-fashioned crossing guards. I hate to say that, especially since if you heard about what happened at Stanley Middle School with the crossing guards. It's a dangerous job, and those are dangerous intersections. I've also been talking to the cities about putting up like some more signage, like really putting it out there, the need to protect our kids. Because unfortunately with these two and the little we have circulating around campus at this point, it's really hard to get out there. But it's imperative to get out there because our kids are getting hurt. I'll open the forum again to questions, and then I will continue with the questions we received.
So my name is Kristen McLaren, and I have 2 students here. And I appreciate this meeting. I appreciate the communication you've had with us. And I get it, that it's really hard to determine what incidents you'll communicate with us about. The students hear things, and there's no question that the rumors that go around are wildly inaccurate. And so the things we as parents hear may sound incredibly sensational, or it may be just a rumor that's overblown. So I get it that you guys have to walk that fine line, but the best way, it seems, to combat misinformation is to get something out. And you guys are the experts, and I'm sure you have a protocol, but I'm interested to know what that is as far as getting information out to either students and parents when an incident has occurred that there could be wildly inaccurate rumors. And so I appreciate you so the question is, what is your protocol or metric for determining when you get information out? I appreciate you talking about the overdoses. And the rumors I heard is a kid died on campus, and it just goes on. And I suspected that was not accurate. So, and then I've also heard incidents about a young woman who had an older boy that filmed under her skirt. And that is problematic on so many levels. The age difference, the videotaping, the covert, the bullying with film. Mm-hmm. And then the rumors are that there was a fight that ensued after that, and the brother that was protecting his sister got in greater trouble than the other kid. And that's troubling. That may be not, I'm looking to you for accurate answers. Yeah. So all of that, some information to highlight some incidents that are related to sexual assault. And then I had a second question that someone brought up when we talked about the TikTok problem. So a whole separate question is, has there been talk or consideration for an attempt to have students lock up their phones when they come here? I know as teachers, you guys struggle with getting students' attention when they're in the classroom. Yeah. So 2 completely separate topics, and any information you can provide.
No, I appreciate that, and thank you for presenting it the way you presented. I appreciate that a lot. The first one that I'll address really quick is the cell phones. This has been a constant back and forth. There was a period of time where we had the cell phone pockets, kids put them in the cell phone pockets, then it turned into that's the student's private property, you can't require that. And then there was an issue with the gray area. Okay, well, if a student doesn't have a device, but they're able to participate in class with their phone, can they use their phone? Truth be told, there is not a fine line of one versus the other. We have some teachers who are extremely consistent. They monitor the phones beautifully. And I'm not gonna say like, I wish I had that with every teacher on this campus. It just doesn't happen. For instance, today I walked into one classroom, beautiful. I mean, the teacher noticed through circulating, one student had their phone out, very gracious. graciously and considerately just said, can you put your phone away? Let's just get back to work. I walked into another classroom, 10 of them have their phones out. Social media, texting. You know, this is something that I've been chipping away at since I entered this district. This is something I've been chipping away at since I was in another district. I wish I had that one kind of solidifying answer where I could say, everyone's gonna have phone pockets and everyone's going to make the kids put their phones in there. Are they gonna do it? As much as I want them to, not always, not right away. So I hear that. I hear especially what I'm gonna be extending to my staff during our staff meeting on Wednesday, like, this is real. I do also wanna bring up that a 90-minute period for kids to be sitting in there, like, I get why sometimes teachers are like, hey, let's take a breather, let's take a break. But that doesn't mean we have to jump on the cell phone, right? So that's something we're gonna continue to work on. I don't have one answer for you on that. It is problematic. I wish I could say at the drop of a hat, every single teacher is gonna listen to me, put it in that folder, but they just don't do that. And I appreciate and I commend the staff for all the work they're doing, but sometimes we need to enforce a little bit more than we're enforcing. And I did put it in my memo this morning to teachers, like, kids are taking pictures of your classrooms. Kids are taking pictures of assignments in your classrooms. Just to kind of, again, open that awareness and that mindfulness, like, this is real. You know, myself as a teacher, just put it at the corner of your desk. I'm not touching it. Let's just get to work. It's really about kind of that management piece. The second piece, which I think is starkly important, is the sexual harassment allegations, the fights that have been happening on campus. I am a new principal to this institution. I cannot speak to anything that was handled in the past or that people feel was not handled in the past, but I will assure you my commitment to Los Lomas is everything will be handled in my capacity that I can handle. To be honest, what was presented to start that speech by Ms. Longo, I did not hear anything about that. I have no idea what she was alluding to. I have no idea what she was talking to. The second piece that you brought up, I am aware of. I am aware of a fight that broke out because a brother was defending his sister. As a mother and as a brother who would have done the same thing, this was the hardest part of my job.
Can you provide the information? Like, I don't know anything about this. And I know you can't use names.
I cannot use names.
But to avoid the rumors,
Yeah.
we could have facts about the situation. When a disciplinary action happens, yes. So there are certain situations when fights break out on campus that were incapacitated. And what I mean by that is sometimes fights break out, there's a little scuffle, students are a little shaken up. Okay, we deal with that situation. But there are fights that break out where EDCO deems excessive bodily harm. This was an instance where the student faced excessive bodily harm. And I'm in no way talking about like the why of the situation. Because I'm telling you, as a mom, and as someone who heard from that family and that student, I understood the why. And that why was taken care of. I want to be very clear on that. But when it broached on that excessive bodily harm, I can't do much else with that. I will say, without divulging too much information, the expulsions that we once knew where students were removed from our district and forgotten. That's not what we're doing here. The beautiful thing about our Associate Superintendent, Amy McNamara, she was an educator. And she works and talks to kids. And she did a fine job of sitting there and like understanding and telling that student, I understand your why. And we will take care of that piece from the other end so your sister does not have to go through this again. And we took care of that. We took care of that the day later that was taken care of. But what I'm saying about the expulsions is not removing the student from the district. And what about the victim in this instance, the young woman, and what
communication has gone out to the school about this type of behavior? The victim.
What is the sexual harassment policy for the predators, basically? What is their, what is their consequence?
I mean, immediate removal from the school and district. That's the
Okay,
consequence.
so
It's in the discipline matrix, yeah.
Okay. And then how does a female student report such an episode? How does that go on record?
You know, I have to, in this particular instance, the scary reality is that a lot of these young ladies don't report. And that's what's devastating me. We have Say Something, anonymous reporting system where students have access to and can report. We're gonna do some training with students around that in the academy. But in addition, what this young lady did brilliantly is she went to the adults that she trusted on campus. Yeah, I'm gonna get her first and then you can go next.
So my question is,
I'm sorry, can you come to the microphone just because it's being recorded?
so this young lady went to the adults, but what after that? She went to administration before and nothing was done maybe? And this is, what I've come to acknowledge or know. And then the fight happened. So could it have been that the administration could have done something before the fight, as the student did report and say that this had happened? Because she wasn't the only one. There was another student that this had happened to.
Sure.
For full disclosure, I was the administrator who that was brought to. And for the sake of transparency, I'm going to walk you through everything that happened. The young ladies reported it to me, and they gave me a physical description of the person who had done it. They didn't know his name, they didn't know his grade. All they could tell me was he was yay tall, he was wearing a Hawaiian shirt. I went room to room in the direction that they thought that the young man was going and looked for a student that matched that description. I went to every single room in the 600 wing. I went to every single room in the 700 wing. I looked for many hours that day, actually. And what I came to, I followed back up with those young ladies. I pulled them from class and I said, hey, I couldn't find this person that you were describing. There was no one wearing a Hawaiian shirt in any of the classrooms. If you figure out who that young man was, please bring it to me, because we take that incredibly seriously. If you see him again on campus, find an adult, right, and tell them who that person was and tell them to find me. So I did try very hard to assure them that we were going to take action, but based on the information that I was given on that day, it was very hard for me to find the young man in question.
So by what you're saying is you put the responsibility on the girl, yes?
No, I didn't mean to put the responsibility back on them, but what I was given was a physical description of a person, and I couldn't find this person.
I'm sorry, I need to address this, and I think I'm addressing both of us. I'm Clara again. So, Dave, I feel a little frustrated with what I'm hearing, because this is justice delayed. You couldn't find this young man, yet the sister's brother did. And by the way, everybody who saw the video did. So to me, it feels like you failed at your job to address that in a timely manner. I could suggest that if maybe this was addressed in a timely manner, that fight wouldn't have happened. Then let's back up a little bit and step outside. That was, I think, fight number 7.
No.
In 6 weeks.
That's incorrect.
There is something about this contagion effect that is happening. Violence is going to beget more violence. And that video is violence, and so is the fight. I want to see.
I'm sorry, what video are you referring to? Sorry.
The pictures that we're taking, the effort, what is considered, in my opinion, sexual harassment. I consider that violence. I think you should.
Oh, I'm sorry, no, I'm sorry, you said there was a video, so I was just asking what video you're referring to.
The footage, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Thankfully, that one I was spared, I didn't see. And then the 2 weeks following that, there was another fight. I need to know how you are addressing that. If you have a protocol of addressing every single one of those incidents in a concrete and a quick manner, so that we could nip this, because I guarantee you, this is just going to snowball. And we need to know that our kids are coming to a safe environment. Sorry, okay, so 2 questions.
Yeah, please. Sorry, my name is Ali, and I wanted to know, is there a rule against you taking the girl to identify the boy that we don't know? And I just want to know because I don't know the procedure. And is there a way to have a class or an elective for them to show what it is, what do we mean by sexual assault, and you know, like an elective that they would all be interested in, and it would be fun and interactive. Like, I'm a member of CERT, it's very fun. You know, they can do something like that so they know exactly what they're dealing with. Thanks.
So, we do have zero tolerance.
Correct.
I think the district has an interest, I'm a teacher, and I think we deal with it right away. I don't think so that kids come back and tell us, we usually have zero tolerance.
So, regarding, taking the young woman to walk around the school to point out who the person who assaulted them was, is extremely traumatizing. And it causes a stigma, like even after something would be done to this young man, that young woman would still be looked at, pointed at. Kids are unforgiving. So the other piece is, there's unfortunately gonna be rumors. If anything happens to any of your children, I wouldn't want us to put that information out for the whole community of the school to know. That is for you to share if that's what you wanna do. That's not for us to share. And we kind of live in a community that likes to sensationalize anything that has nothing to do with them, which is unfortunate. And sexual harassment is not tolerated. Like, it can't be tolerated. It just can't. There are trainings that are set up for that already, that are outside of the equity lessons. There's still more work that needs to be done. Our kids were on Zoom and isolated for over a year. Their ability to socially interact in a way that is safe, a lot of the social skills are no longer there. You know, like social skills that kids have learned from kindergarten up, it's like they're starting all over in hyper speed. And so part of this is timing and pacing of how do we get them back regulated, because they're not regulated. The fights are happening because they don't know how to regulate themselves. It's not because they want to fight. That one incident was to take care of my sister. There's been others where kids who've never ever been in trouble, they have never been in trouble, have high grades, they're dysregulated. Which is why Sarah talked about having the teachers really start taking some time with social emotional learning every class. I have some teachers who take 10 minutes before they start class and have everyone go outside, stretch, get centered before they go into the work. Because they need that. They need to learn how to do that again. This is not just about fights. This is like, how do we help our students and our kids actually succeed and be successful this year that they're sitting around waiting to see if we're gonna close again because they're watching the news. They're scared of the Delta variant because they're watching the news. They don't know what's gonna happen next. Will they get to go to college because they're watching the news? It's a lot going on for young people. It's hard for even adults to navigate as well. Like, my whole thing is this time was like, how can we get more ideas? I like that idea about the wash stations. Can we do things better? Are there things that we could have done better? Of course. Anything we do in life, we should be thinking about how we can do it better the next time. And the difference is this impacts children. If we have a misstep, it impacts them forever. So we don't want to have more missteps. So ideas, we're open to them. I can speak for this whole panel. We are open to ideas. That was the point of this. Like, when you're working in it, you only see what you see. Having external people have some ideas is gonna be helpful. Because we haven't even got to midterms. We haven't even got to when it's stressful. This is supposed to be the easy part of the year. And when we're looking at the whole county, the fights, I mean, the middle schools are blowing up, the high schools are blowing up, and it's not making a lot of sense, and it's called dysregulation. We have kids getting hit by cars throughout the county. Everyone is dysregulated, adults as well. So I know that we're open to ideas. Like, I want this to be something that's productive and one of many conversations, because we can't just have one 1-hour conversation and everything be fine. There haven't been 7 fights that we know of. So y'all may have information that we don't even know about.
It's kind of funny, Tom Miller here, my wife and I have raised 2 boys through this school, 2nd generation parents. I came here tonight and I'm very, very happy to be here. And all of a sudden I'm about to make an off-duty arrest. So I apologize. My husband, my age, like, you can't say that, you can't do that. But I apologize, but I don't apologize. That was uncalled for. And so thank you, good job. I came here to tell you that in my experience, and I've had a lot of it, many years, and I've held a lot of ranks, and I was actually down in the city of Newark for a number of years doing a lot of things, and I actually was involved in a school lockdown, school shutdown with a gang member that ran into the campus with a firearm, and I was a SWAT commander at that time, and a police commander, and it was very scary, and all the things, you know, went along, but everybody was fine. So what I'm just trying to say is this. As a parent, I appreciate what you're doing, and thank you for being the tip of the spear, sir. I think she owed a little bit of applause for welcome to you. Seriously, thank you. And the cadre of experts, what you just said, Doctor, was wonderful, is necessary. Everyone has a cog in the wheel in this, but eyes and ears, communication flowing, because down there was a lot of violence. I saw students actually get killed off campus. And that can't happen here. Oh, but it did. Probably 2 years ago, we had a student come on campus with a firearm. Yeah. And this student was out for vendetta, rage, because he was bullied, from what I understand. That student also lived less than a block away from our home. He had a loaded firearm in his backpack, and he was coming to make that score even. Thankfully, when I say eyes and ears, see something, say something, do something, it was a wonderful synergistic response and effect, including the police department, to make sure that that person, okay, got arrested, great, but really got identified and got the help they need. But most importantly, every one of our students, our fine staff, faculty, people that work support, were safe as well. So keep doing what you're doing. I love it. Eyes and ears. You're out there, and there are times where you're gonna ruffle some feathers, you know? You might, but in the name of good, in the name of safety, please keep doing what you're doing, and my family, I thank you very much for that.
So I'm coming in as a parent whose kid did vape in the bathroom and got expelled, and he knew Mr. Gonzalo very well. And I think one of the challenges was I think a lot of times it was about punish, because I think staff was really nice and trying to help them, but it was our staff, you know, it was administrative staff. And then he finally did get to meet with a counselor, but they could only meet once every 2 weeks. And he didn't keep up with it. So I'm loving hearing that it sounds like you said there are more counselors and wellness staff. I'm sure it's still not enough, so I just want to put that out there, because that's before kids weren't being met.
But I wanted to suggest, some of these things may already be going on, but like a wellness, peer health educators, where you have kids out there communicating, leading efforts, leading social media efforts with Los Lomas pages, whatever. And I also think a lot of the parents here would do something like that. Like, can we be messengers? Can we come volunteer on campus? My second son, who is so far not in trouble, would hate to see me on campus doing stuff. But I love that Matt's here, so if there are ways to get involved with that, or even a coalition of some sort, so that parents can get involved with troubleshooting, communication, or whatever.
That's great.
Please.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Sarah, can I say something really quick?
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I just want to let you know, we do have a group on campus that Mrs. Rich is working with called Peer to Peer. And so it's an alpha group that has started in Irvine. And these kids are going to try to be role models for the whole school. We're trying to grow the club to make it even bigger so that the kids can feel comfortable doing the right thing as far as drug and substance abuse, and maybe it'll flow out to other behaviors. But I just want to ask you parents one thing, and I'll shut up. So we need help, okay? We obviously need help. We're doing the best we can, but these kids are coming from your homes. It's stressful. It's been a terrible year. People have lost their jobs. The economy's bad. People are racing around in their cars. Some people are really struggling, and it's tangible in homes. And so the kids come from these homes and they come to our school, and we're stressed out, and we're trying to deal with it too. But I like your idea about wanting to get parents involved, and Sarah and I talked, and other people talk about creating an education unit for parents. Like, how can we reduce the stress in our homes? We're all dealing with it in every way because of the pandemic. So, love that idea. I'd like to start opening up some doors for maybe you guys getting in touch with each other, and we're trying to do that too. Okay. Sorry.
Don't
Okay.
apologize.
My name is Brenda. I have a sophomore son here, of course, his first year officially at Los Lomas, and then I have a daughter who will be coming from WCI as an 8th grader. I happen to know the family very well, who son and daughter were involved with the sexual assault. I call it sexual assault because I feel that the whole upskirt was a sexual assault. I understand the why, Sarah, just as you said, and I appreciate you saying that. I also appreciate you clearing up some of the rumors. I know that the actual fight was videotaped, and it was apparently excessive, and I understand the why for the consequences for that. What I do want to know from the panel is what is being done going forward to educate our students and our staff on what is appropriate on campus and even off campus. I know you said oftentimes things are not reported. So we need to educate our kids on that, and we need to educate, and it's not just the boys and the girls, because it can happen both ways, but we need to educate our kids on what is okay and what is not okay. And that comes from communication from not only you to the students, but you to the parents. There were so many rumors flying over the weeks that it was going on and being figured out who and what the consequences were. And the rumors were flying because there wasn't any communication coming from the district. Along those lines, the TikTok, we got communication from WCI, here's what's happening, please talk to your kids. I don't know that came from Los Lomas. And I know a lot, as you said, comes from the home, and if parents are willing to read the emails and talk to their kids about it, then I think that would at least be a good starting point. Thank you.
I want to go off a completely different topic, so hopefully this will be helpful. I just appreciate everything's been said tonight. I have a question about protocol for extracurricular activities. I was at the Northgate football game, and talcum powder was thrown over my son's head and his best friend who has asthma. And they're all wearing masks, And I just didn't know if that was approved by the district administration prior to going to the game. It was very upsetting for his asthmatic friend. And I brought their son, so it's very, like, oh my gosh, I brought him to an event that it affected his asthma. I wanted to know if they needed some ideas for making a pep rally. I'm certainly willing to finance the, popping something non-toxic to our kids. I really was concerned. I want to know if we have a plan in place for homecoming so that there is not things like that happening again. I also got this from my son, and he's really hurt by this. He actually is not doing mock rock this year because all the popular girls decided what the calligraphy was. No boys were allowed to do any leadership. And the other part is then Powder Puff, his friends that did it were not popular, so they never made it on the field, but they made it to every practice. So it's extremely unfair things going on during homecoming in this campus the last time we happened, and I'd like to see it stop. I don't know who's in charge of leadership, and I don't really care who's in charge of leadership, but this comes from somebody who's watched things like that happen, and it really hurts our kids. And I talked to a mom about it. She says, oh, there's no popularity contest on campus. Seriously, we can't put our heads in the sand about that. We need to really work on helping our other kids feel like they belong here and that they fit in.
Yeah, and I will say in regards to that, we do have a new leadership teacher this year, and I hear you doesn't really matter.
I want to make sure that if a girl goes to every practice, that she gets on that field for 1 second or 2 seconds or one play. I think that's really hurtful. And then if the girls are all ruling the mock rock, you're going to continue to have no boys do it.
Yeah,
There's 4 boys in his freshman year that did it, and they made it to the front of the mock rock for 3 movements. And I know my son's not doing mock rock because of it. And so that hurts him, that hurts his experience here at Los Lomas. But I do want to see a difference in that, and so I'm just hoping that as all the schedules go out, that we're talking to leadership and we're making sure that doesn't repeat itself. And that's just my suggestion. And I'm here to volunteer. I will be one of the parents helping supervise at Mock Rock or whatever one Charlie does, Putter Cup. I'll be one that donates stuff to the cause, go and sit at the, things. But I want to see a difference this year, and I hope that you guys are all facilitating.
What's your name again?
I'm Debbie Nix.
How do I spell the last name?
N-I-C-K-S.
Thank you, Debbie, and I will say, great starting point. We do have some amazing parent advisors in the room who I'm sure will be happy to connect with you. We had over a 2-hour meeting just last week about changes we want to make with homecoming, and I will say you're looking at a girl who is not popular. And you're looking at a girl who did mock rock and did powder puff and made my stink and represented all those kids who weren't quote unquote popular. And we are making shifts, and our parents, I will say our parent advisors did a phenomenal job of checking and pushing back on every item about homecoming to keep the tradition, but making sure our kids are included. So I can help facilitate you getting in contact with them. I can give you names, I can give you emails. They'll be happy to talk to you and would love volunteers to contribute. I think we have time for one more, just to respect the hour, and we have some other commitments from the panel members, but please.
Hi, my name is Jamie. I was just curious, thank you so much for doing this. How are we leveraging Academy work? So you talked a lot about the drug use, the sexual activity, the conflict resolution, and I just feel like there's an opportunity. We didn't use cohorts enough last year to help them through depression. They are, doctors, you addressed all of it. They're depressed, they're trying to figure out. And we need to amp that up ASAP. I appreciate all the equity training we're doing, but we need this ASAP now, and how we have assemblies out in the field and talk about drug use and be completely transparent. And how do you said about resources? Tina Steen is an amazing institute that has resources that we could use ASAP to have them talk to these kids and really make an impact quickly in their lives. And then I would also say the seniors, they didn't have all the opportunities last year for college counseling and they're in stress time right now. You talked about midterms, they're trying to figure out what do I do for college, and so there's a big need across all of the different years based on their unique situations.
Yeah, and I think you touched on, thank you for that, you touched on a lot. I was actually just looking at a program today called Love, Courage, and Respect. And it's put out there, and there's speakers that can come to campus, but what I really love about it, it's like tried and true curriculum to kids. And it's made by kids. It's made by a lot of mothers and fathers from Sandy Hook. And it really comes from the angle of trauma and trauma-enforced practices and how we can educate our kids and how we can talk to our kids. Call me a traditionalist and call me just like a basic classroom teacher. Like, I am gonna put responsibility and accountability on my staff to put themselves, and I don't even want to call it a level of discomfort, but to put themselves in a position like you are the models and exemplar for these kids. They see you more than sometimes their parents during the week. But also something I wanted to reiterate, I'm extending these to our athletic programs, to our extracurricular activities. I want tried and true coaches. I want to, like Mr. Just is working in the booth up there, somebody who's really gonna advocate and push for our students and have those conversations with our kids, because that's where it starts. But I love how this program is deeply embedded in like love, courage, and respect. Nowhere in there does it say discipline. Nowhere in there does it say let's wag my finger and play that hierarchy. I never want to play hierarchies with kids. They're young adults to me, they're not kids. And I want to treat them with respect. But I'm also the type of person, and just in closing, I'll say this to you. How can an administrator, a new principal of a school, or a teacher, someone standing in front of a class demand respect from a kid when they don't know if they have your respect? And that's something I really want to extend to my staff too. Okay, you want kids to respect you, but what have you done to earn their respect? And that's really where I'm kind of shifting the mindset with this staff, and we have tons of staff. I'm seeing them in the crowd today, who are leading and paving these ways for our leadership teams to tap into our kids and see the kid as an individual and not just as 31 other chairs in the room. So it is happening. I hear the immediacy. I brought it up in admin council at the district office the last time I was there. Like, no more of these PD days, 3 months. No more of these, like, let's spend 6 months planning. Like, what are we doing right now? So I'd love to just pass it, if I can, to wellness, and then Jamie kind of on their way out, just to follow that same note and like moving the pendulum forward and how we can continue to improve as a school. Go ahead, Lillian. Thank you.
Oh yeah, so I appreciate what you're saying about us utilizing Academy. That's definitely something that we're looking to continue to do as wellness. We've previously had mindfulness events during Academy, teaching kids coping skills. It's really important to us that what we do is very student-driven. So we actually have a group called Bring Change to Mind, which is a nonprofit that we partner with. It is a student-run mental health awareness club, which is all about reducing the stigma of mental health on campus, encouraging kids to access services and letting them know what's available to them. In addition to that, we also have a student advisory board this year for wellness. They are giving us all kinds of wonderful feedback in terms of the redesign of the wellness center, services that they think would be advantageous for students, and other programming. We're planning a number of community-wide activities and events. One of our focuses during finals this year is going to be self-care for students. So we're having a lot of student-run, student-created, student-driven activities happening during that time. We also are continuing to provide a lot of clinical support to our students. Thus far this year, we have extended ongoing services to over 120 students who've been referred, which is a significant increase from this time last year. We're also providing drop-in support for kids. We average about 20 drop-ins a day in the Wellness Center. And when I say 20, I'm talking about students who are actually seeking support, whether it be a 10-minute break from class, meeting with a counselor, learning more about what we offer, or setting up an appointment. We've had days where we get as many as 40, depending on where our students are at. But we are supporting them. We have admin behind us. We have a really involved, wonderful student body who are very on fire about mental health and improving our school culture. And I'd say the same for our staff. The staff see the kids. They reach out all the time saying, what can I do to support them? We're very, very fortunate to have the teachers that we have at this campus.
Thank you for having me here. I want to thank Sarah. I had the pleasure of meeting Sarah at Miramani and working with her over the last couple years, and was very excited when I heard that she was the principal here, Las Lomas. And I'm from Mad, California, at San Francisco Bay Area, but I live in Walnut Creek, so I'm right there. My kids went to Miramani. So some of the services and resources that MAD has, we have a Power of Youth presentation, which is for young people. It's about underage substance use and what it's doing to the mind and to the brain, and information around that. And I will do that anywhere, anytime. Have a group of students, any class, happy to do it. We also have a Power of Parents presentation. There's a lot of materials out there. There's a whole gigantic booklet that if I do the presentation, I bring these because they're kind of big and expensive. But it's a great resource, not only just on substance use, but how to talk to your kids about substance use and different parenting styles. And the thing I'm really most excited about is, as Kathy said, I worked for a more local nonprofit, and I started a peer-to-peer club at Miramani a few years ago with really enthusiastic students who want to change the culture of substance use on their campus, and started here at Las Lomas last year. And the presidents this year are just like dynamos. They want to make it happen, and some of our products are, we go into the health classes and they deliver supplementary information for the alcohol and other drug unit. Their biggest thing they really want to do is they want to go to WCI and speak to the 8th graders. We did that in Orinda and went to OIS, and it was an amazing event for everybody. So we're definitely going to work to have that happen. And just whoever said the peer-to-peer, I am so that I think that that's absolutely the way a lot of these messages need to come across. There's also other MAD programs around teen influencers and working directly with teens, and happy to be able to be doing this at Las Lomas. So thank you.
I just want to say something about that because I work at Orinda. Is your kids at Miramani came over and did a play regarding all of these issues we've already talked about tonight, and really addressed right and wrong, and did a skit. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And it was peer to peer.
Yeah, I mean, Jamie's amazing. I had the pleasure of working with her, so thank you for coming out tonight. Again, I am amenable to suggestions, to feedback. I'm humbled at the fact that I'm a new principal running a very big school. But I will say this does not deter me. This does not deter my team. It's just how can we learn and move forward and work with the community, partner with all of you. We have some counseling staff here tonight. We have our general education staff here tonight. Like, we care. We care about your kids. If you ever have any questions following this event, please feel free to reach out to me. I will post the recording. I will communicate and do better. I hear that. I will definitely be a presence to all of you because this is important. This school is important to all of us. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. And we'll continue to have these conversations. We'll continue to get through this because these kids will get through it. And if you ever need anything moving forward, again, we are here. The district office is here. We're here to support what we can. Okay? Have a good evening. Thank you.